Hello there and welcome to the What Digital Camera review of Fujifilm's smallest, lightest and most affordable compact system camera to date, the X-M1. So a quick run through of the main specification of the X-M1. It features a 16.3 megapixel X-Trans CMOS sensor with an ISO range from 200 to 6400. It does away with a viewfinder and there's no connection to attach an optional one either, instead relying on a 3-inch screen at the rear. And it's not touchscreen unlike a lot of rivals. There's Wi-Fi functionality and a 49-point AF system as well. As we've seen with other Fujifilm cameras such as the X100S and the X Pro 1, the X-M1 is a nice looking camera with some nice retro touches to it. While at first glance it may appear to be constructed from metal, the top plate and base plate are actually plastic. Don't be put off by this because the overall feel is very good. You've got these nice machined dials and this nice quality textured grip, so it doesn't disappoint in the hand. So at the rear we've got this pull-out vari-angle screen that can be positioned a range of angles depending on what you want to shoot. When I was shooting with it, it was really handy when I was wanting to get a dramatic low angle that I could just flip it out and easily see what I was shooting without having to get too far down to view it. The X-M1 also comes bundled with a new 16 to 50mm kit lens, so it gives you a nice broad coverage of 24 to 75mm in traditional terms, so it's a really nice broad coverage with the 24mm particularly useful for landscapes and architectural shots. It's quite plasticky though, as you can see. It's also got a plastic lens mount and it also does away with the aperture ring that we've seen on pretty much every other Fujifilm lens. So the absence of an aperture ring on the lens does mean that the controls on the X-M1 are slightly different from what we've seen on the X Pro 1 and the XE1. So no longer have you got a dedicated shutter speed dial on the top, you've just got this mode dial with your main creative shooting modes as well as a host of auto modes. And on the side here, where you'd usually see the exposure compensation dial, this is now one control dial, and then at the back we've got this other sunken control dial as well. It's a little bit plasticky for our liking, but it actually is quite easy to use in tandem. So when you're shooting an aperture priority or shutter speed, use this to adjust your settings, and then this doubles up as the exposure compensation. So the AF performance on the X-M1 is pretty solid, but it's probably not quite as snappy as we've seen on rivals. And while it doesn't have a touch screen AF selection is pretty quick. I just have to hit the AF button, and then using the 4-way D-pad, I can use that to toggle around my 49 AF points and select the AF point I want. So while it might be quite nice to have the touchscreen functionality, this is actually pretty quick to use. While it seems odd using an X series camera without a viewfinder, I have to say the 3-inch display delivers well balanced and contrasted results that are matched for rivals. That said though, it's a shame to see no touchscreen functionality on the X-M1, which I can see deterring some new users. Well, it's a problem not unique to the X-M1, but because it doesn't have a viewfinder and you're relying solely on the 3-inch display, if you're shooting in bright sunlight, reflections can be a problem, making composition problematic. As we've already mentioned, we'd have liked to have seen touchscreen functionality. The X-M1's laid out in such a way that you've got a load of quick access points on the camera, so new users shouldn't be too deterred. You've got a function button at the top there that can be programmed. I've got it set to ISO. While the quick menu at the rear offers really quick access to a host of settings that can be adjusted really quickly without having to double click, while the menu is nicely laid out as well. The X-M1's auto white balance mode coped well under a range of light sources, delivering natural results in most situations. The 256 zone metering system used by the X-M1 is a consistent performer, delivering pleasing results under a range of lighting conditions. The results showed that the X-M1's 16.3 megapixel sensor can resolve down to a very strong 26 lines per millimetre at its base ISO of 200, only dropping to 24 lines per millimetre at ISO 6400, an excellent performance that would trouble some full-frame DSLRs. Moving on to image noise and looking at JPEG files, you'll be able to shoot up to ISO 3200 without experiencing any real image noise issues, while the X-M1 manages to retain an impressive amount of detail at this sensitivity. Even at ISO 6400, results are still strong, with minimal image noise disrupting results. Costing more than its closest rivals like the Panasonic GF6 and the Sony Nex5R, new users will undoubtedly be swayed by these more affordable rivals. But thanks to its lovely styling, solid build and beautiful results from the X-Trans CMOS sensor, this will be a premium worth paying for some users. For a full review, log on to whatdigitalcamera.com.